Hello, I'm your boy Daryll Triplett, um, also known as Officer Keep It Real. And, you know, I wanted to address a couple questions people had about me and some of the comments that I've gotten online, emails. Mostly, I just ignore most of them, but there's a couple on there that's really like, dude, you have no idea who I am. And I guess in all fairness, I've never really told you who I was. And I want to take this opportunity to tell you who I am. And I've gotten the comments, some of, uh, you know, do I identify with black people, right? Do I have a problem with gays and lesbians and transgender? Why do I use the N word so much? I use the N word so much because I hate myself so much that I just wish destruction on myself and my people and stuff like that. And I've gotten those emails, and I've gotten some pretty rough ones. Most of the time, I laughed them off. There's no big deal, but there's a couple of them in there. I'm still human, and there's a couple of them that still, today it bothers me. And one of them is um, that I don't identify as being black. And I could tell you this year, I've been black 50 something years, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt no one can give or take away my black card that is on this earth but my mama and daddy, and they're both passed. What people don't know about me is that much like the rest of you out there who are watching today, uh, I've had trouble. I've had strife. My mama died when I was just a baby. My daddy died when I was 13 years old. My sister, Daphne Triplett, raised me from the time I was literally 6 months old, around that time. And to today, I still call her and ask her different things and guidance on things and stuff like that. So it's a parenting job that never stops. And I thank God for that woman, because without her, she had already had um, four other kids. And she took me on. Um, and for that, I really thank her for that, because I would have had a rough life if it had went any other way. And I've had a pretty decent life. I had a good childhood, a very good upbringing. I learned to love at a very early age, even though at sometimes I feel that life doesn't always deal you a fair hand, and most of us could feel that way, I guess, at some point in time in this thing called life. But for most of you, what you don't know is that no, I was not bullied as a child. I did not get beat up and all that other stuff. Nothing like that is the reason why I want to be a police officer. I want to be a police officer because I used to watch SWAT team a lot as a child growing up, and uh, just was fascinated with how they did things there. The kicking in the doors and the action and stuff like that is crazy. So I grew up watching that stuff, and that was one of the things that sort of took to me. And even growing up, I used to always be the cop, and my brother Tyrone, who's really my nephew, but we grew up as brothers and brothers, uh, was always the bad guy. So I used to always, always, always make him be the bad guy, and I would always, always, always be the cop. And we used to rappel off our daddy's roof and stuff like that. A lot of the stories that comics tell when they're on that stage are really true stories, and that is a really true story. I We would take our bedroom sheets and tie them like SWAT ropes, and we would rappel out our bedroom windows from the third floor. And as crazy as that may sound, it really, really happened. And I did actually cut Tyrone's sheets, and he did fall to the ground. And I did get my behind whooped when my mama got home too. So a lot of the stories that we tell as comics are true real life stories. We just put them in a very comical way. So a lot of the stuff is that I'm not being perverted when I'm writing this stuff or reliving this stuff. It's stuff that's really happened in our lives. And a lot of comics talk about stuff like that. So I'm no different than anybody else. I just happen to be a cop, right? I just happen to be a cop. And one thing that I will say that to most of you who will watch this and will probably judge on this and stuff like that also. But one thing I would say, hey, don't judge me until you get to know me. Don't judge me. And a lot of people ask, who is Daryll Triplett? And by rights, I guess that I haven't really told you who I really was. In none of my stand-ups, I never went back and told you that. My mama died when I was just a baby. Um, my father died when I was 13 years old. I had a uncle who raised me, and he lived in California. And every summer we would go and spend with him. We would have a wonderful time. He'd take us to McDonald's, and we would I loved my Uncle Jimmy so much, man. Me and my brother did, man. We just had a ball every time we was with him. I never told you that he was gay and that he died from HIV. So maybe it's my fault. So let's say this here. Let's bury the hatchet. Let's start all over again. And this is who I am. So the question has come up that I hate gay people because I'm gay, or I can't stand transsexuals because I'm gay, or I wish I was a transsexual or something like that, right? Self-hate. And the answer to that question is, first off, no, I'm not gay. I'm a heterosexual. I've been married for 18 years. And I've had two other marriages prior to this. You talking about not getting something right. There you have it. That's the number you're looking for right there, those other two. I did not, I wasn't successful with those. I'm successful in this one, at least so far, knock on wood right now. I've been married for 18 years. I have 10 lovely children who I adore. I was, um, I was a fair but strict father, I would say. I was a non-nonsense type of father, but I was never scared to hug my kid and kiss them on the forehead and tell them, I love you, son. I love you, daughter. But at the same time, if they mess up, I'd get that belt and tear their ass up too. So I think that's just part of parenting 101 is that tough love. So I think that I was an awesome father. A lot of the kids in my second marriage, I didn't get to see as much because they had moved back to Ohio, and I would see them on the summer times and stuff like that. But we didn't let that stop us. When we saw each other, we just had a blast, and we picked up like it was. And I love my children very, very much. I talk about Donovan a lot in my stand-up, my problem child. I love him very much. When I tell you he is the coolest kid, or well, he's not a kid anymore, but he is the coolest person you'll ever want to meet. I love that young man so much. He's a fine young man. Did he get in trouble? Yes, he got in trouble. Did he learn from it? He learned from it. I can't get this dude to jaywalk, let alone do anything else stupid. So he's a wonderful kid now. And I think life is about lessons, and you learn from them. And no one's perfect. Not me, not you who are watching this. No one of us is perfect. So we got to stop looking at people who are on the lens of the TV as perfect people, because we're not perfect. We're humans and we're fallible. And a lot of us, we have faults. Sometimes you have to co-parent with the other parent who you don't get along with. And I don't have to explain that to a lot of you, how that can go right there. That can be a tedious task in itself. So I'm very clear that you understand that co-parenting is a whole big deal in itself. And then to bring an outside person, a woman, into the parenting process can be very challenging for kids, for the two adults and stuff like that. But we managed to do that flawlessly. Her 5 kids and my 5 kids just gelled together like it was just nobody's business. And you couldn't really ever tell the difference. What kid was mine, what kid was not biologically mine. I was very blessed when it come to that. Even to today, I still treat the kids the same way. And so people, have this preconceived notion of me because I do homosexual jokes, that I have a problem with homosexuals, and I do not have a problem with homosexuals. I've been a cop for 30 years. A lot of times, being a cop, when you are going to the scene of an emergency, you're not stopping and saying, "Hey, before I touch you, are you a homosexual?" You're not saying that. You don't have time to say that. You're grabbing that person off the ledge, or you are, heaven forbid, you're having to tackle that person to the ground or something like that. But you're not asking that stupid question. Do you know why you're not asking that question? Because nobody gives a damn if you're homosexual. It's 2024. Nobody cares if you're homosexual. Nobody cares if you're transgender. At least, let me say this, I don't. When I look at a person, I look at a person for what they are. All right? Either you're an asshole or you're not an asshole. If you're an asshole, you're right. I have a problem with you. If you're not an asshole, then I generally don't have a problem with you. And you know, it's just that simple with me. It's very cut and dry. When people ask, who is Daryll Triplett? I would say this here. Daryll Triplett is easy and wanting to love all the time, with a very big heart. Even though some people may say, well, you're a cop and blah, 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 blah. No, I'm not talking about work. I'm talking about Daryll Triplett. Daryll Triplett, slow to anger, fast to love, fast to trust. Now, don't get that confused with punk, pushover, passive. All that, not. I'm very, as a matter of fact, of what I want. But I do have love in my heart. I do have, like everybody else, feelings. So that's who I am. And I'm proud to be that man. I have to be that man because when you're raising children, black, white, Spanish, whatever, you have to instill that love into them. I think that is a lot of our problem to today, is that we're not instilling a lot of love into our children. Men, we don't hug our kids. We don't kiss them on the forehead, tell them to have a good day. For some of us, they perceive that as weakness, and you got to be a strong man and no, not necessarily true. You can still be and still have love in your heart. And that's what I teach my boys. And to the day, I still, they don't leave out that house without giving me a hug and a kiss on a forehead or something like that. But you never know. That may be the last time you may ever even see them. So who wants to go through life living like that? Not me, certainly not me. I don't want to do that. So the way that I run my household is I try to do it with love and caring. Now, does that mean I have not went slap off before? Absolutely, positively. But it's coming from a place of love, and it's coming from a place of discipline, and it's something that something has truly went wrong that shouldn't have gone wrong. So to answer your question, um, as ridiculous as this may sound, officially, I have no problem with anybody, particularly the gay community, the transgender community, or any other community out there. Daryll Triplett does not have a problem with at all. I love you guys. You guys are a part of the society, just like I'm a part of the society. And you're entitled to live your lives the way that you want to live your life. And I have to, and I will, and will respect that. And I will teach my kids to always respect that. And in turn, we ask the same, respect us too. So because you're gay, because you're a homosexual or a lesbian or a transgender, that doesn't give you the right to trample upon people too, right? It does not. So it's one world, and we all have to live in it together. And that's the way that I see it. That's what drives the force, but me wanting to be a police officer is truly, truly, I want to help. Sometimes that help comes in different forms and fashion, but like I said, as policing, there's no time for, oh, I'm not going to save that person because he's gay or this or that, the other. There's no time for something like that. And people ask me all the time, well, I have never met a good cop. And I say, well, you have now. I can't speak for everybody else. And we have a lot of great cops out there. We have so many great cops out there, it's not funny. When I tell you I am so proud of my profession, it's not funny. I wear it as a badge of honor being a cop because being a cop is the only job that gives you the authority to take a life, and you cannot take that lightly. So people ask me all the time, well, Daryll, what makes a good cop? And I always say, first off, the first thing that makes a good cop is you have to be a good person. To the core of your soul, you have to be a good person. And then being a cop surrounds that. Because if you're a good person, you wouldn't just pull anybody over because they're white or they're black or they're Chinese. If you're a good person, you would not save anybody because they're a skin color or a part of the gay community or something like that. You would never even do that. It would never even cross your mind to do that. So you have to start by just being a good damn person first. Just be a good person, and the rest falls in line. If you do your job like there's a camera on you all the time, even when there's not, or you don't think there is, you'll be fine. Just do what's right. Even when you don't think people's watching, just do what's right, and you'll always go fine. When it comes to the use of the N word, or nigga, as I say, you know, it used to bother me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll be totally transparent, and honest with you. When I heard that word nigga, it just used to boil my blood so much. And then one day I said, what are you so angry with about that word? So I researched it, and I found out what the word nigga means. It means an ignorant person, right? It means an ignorant person. And I said, well, hold on. I'm not an ignorant person. Matter of fact, I'm sort of the opposite of an ignorant person. I'm a very loving person, a very giving person. So that doesn't apply to me. And then I got thinking about it more. I said, well, a nigga could be anybody. A nigga could be a white person, a nigga could be a black person, it could be a Chinese person, a Filipino person, Spanish, anybody. A nigga could be anybody. It means an ignorant person. So when I use the word nigga, and I reference this and I joke about this, there's three types of niggas. There's a negro, there's a nigga, and then there's a nigger. So anybody can be any of those three. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't preference from your race. It preferences from how you act and what you do. So we've embraced that word as the black community, nigga, as something bad because that's what racist people call us. That's what they did in the past, and they hung us by that name and stuff like that. Well, really, they should have been hanging themselves because they were the ignorant ones for doing that, right? So they're really the niggas. They're really the nigger. They're really the negro. So when I use that word nigga, it's not talking about a specific race. It's talking about generally anybody who's ignorant. And there's a lot of us out there that's ignorant, right? So again, it's not a particular race. It is the actions that come behind it. So I just wanted to take a few minutes out of my day and I wanted to explain to you that, hey, I'm not this evil, vicious guy that is badge heavy, that's been bullied. Now I'm getting get back now. That's nowhere near me. That's nowhere near me. And I learned my lesson about picking on people a very long time. I'll tell you a quick story. I had to be 10 years old, and I had a crush on this girl. We used to go to middle school together, and her name is I can't say her name. I'm not going to say her name, but if she ever sees it, she will know exactly who she's talking about. She was a Puerto Rican girl, and she had long, beautiful black hair, and I liked her so much, and I would the only way that I knew to show that I liked her was I would pick on her to get her attention. I would pull her hair. She'd sit in front of me on the bus, and I would pull her hair every time, and she would go, "Daryll, stop it!" And I'd pull on her hair. I'd pull on her hair, and that was the only way that I knew in this stupid mind to get her to pay me some attention. And one day she just was not feeling it, and she's like, "If you pull my hair again, I'm gonna beat your ass when we get off this bus." And boy, let me tell you something. We got off that bus, and she went into a windmill on my ass, boy. Had me running home, boy. I was like, "Oh my God." She tore into me pretty good. She went into a windmill on me, boy. And she just let at it. And I learned right then, hey, you're gonna have to find a way to tell a chick that you like her better than pulling on her hair. So everybody has their life lessons that they've learned. Everybody that goes through it. And the moral to that story is one day I was working. I probably hadn't been out of the police academy, not even 2 years yet. And I pulled this car over, and I walk up to the car, and it's the girl that I had a crush on. And she had her kids in the back. And she told the story, and her kids just cracked up laughing. She was like, this officer right here, I beat him up. I beat him up. And it was just so funny. We laughed, 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 laughed. But the moral of that story is, people, we have to learn to love each other, period, point blank. And we have to find a way, one world, and we have to get along in it. I'm your boy, Daryll Triplett, over and out.